Significant blow to the ANC. Veteran Mavuso Msimang has resigned after 6 decades of loyal service, he says, citing the party's entrenched corruption and governance shortcomings. Msimang's scathing letter addressed to the Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula emphasizes the ANC's alleged failure to address corruption within its ranks and its subsequent impact on public services. The veteran condemns the party's perceived declining moral standing, pointing to a growing loss of public trust reflected in the declining poll numbers. Msimang concludes his letter by severing ties with the ANC, expressing a need to redirect his efforts towards causes aligned with his principles, marking a poignant moment underscoring the ANC's challenges in restoring public confidence. To discuss this, we are now joined by political analyst and lecturer at TUT, Dr. Levy Ndou. Dr. Ndou, good morning. Thank you so much for making time for us. What's the significance of having a veteran like Mavuso Msimang resigning, also considering, as is argued, that it's not the first time that he's raised concerns around the ANC's alleged inaction when it comes to fighting corruption?
Good morning, Aldrin. Good morning to the viewers at home. Well, I think it's quite significant that Mavuso Msimang has resigned from the ANC, in the sense that this is one person who, as you have rightfully indicated, served the ANC for quite some time, and he has been part of those who have been raising concerns about the state of affairs in the ANC, and specifically on matters relating to corruption. And most of the people that appears to be not happy with what is happening in the ANC, they would mostly talk about the inability of the ANC to deal decisively with tendencies of corruption, and also being very kind to those that are in their leadership positions that appears to have been involved in corrupt activities. The ANC has been given an opportunity very openly to act on members who are aligned or who are said to have been involved in corrupt activities through the state capture report, which has mentioned some within its ranks on matters of corruption. And what we have actually observed is the slow pace of the ANC moving in addressing such issues or taking action. And that could be frustrating for those who wanted the ANC to move very swiftly and ensure that indeed they are serious about the fight against corruption.
What do you make about the point that he makes in his letter? He says that the ANC is on the verge of losing power, and this is not because of the Ezulweni Investments. A small company from Newcastle got a written attachment against the ANC for 150 million rand and so forth. He goes on. He says it is because, as its own pollsters have warned, the ANC is currently failing significantly short of securing an outright victory during next year's elections.
Well, the signs have been there. If you look at the voting patterns and trends in South Africa, they don't actually show the increment on the support of the ANC, but it's a constant decline. And one of the issues that is constantly raised that could be attributed to the decline of the ANC support base, it's based on issues related to corruption. If you look at the messages of the different political parties when they campaign, since 1999 up until 2019, they always talk about corruption in government, which of course should be blamed to the ANC leaders. And if the ANC does not deal decisively with matters relating to corruption, obviously that is going to be its own decline. But you also at the same time not expect members who love the ANC to actually quit. You would expect these members to be part of those that are providing solution onto the party, because if you actually quit the party, you're actually sending a message that appears to be saying that I've actually given up on the ANC and I don't want to see anything or do anything regarding the ANC. And some would be saying the best thing would have been to stay on, fight within the ANC, and in order to save the ANC and South Africans, you need to be able to fight from within and indeed make a meaningful contribution.
He goes on to say that corruption we once decried is now part of our movement's DNA. And it reminds me of the statement from the ANC president, Cyril Ramaphosa, who said that if the ANC was in the dock amongst accused of corruption, the ANC would be accused number one. My question is, if you look at the statement or the resignation letter, Mavuso Msimang does not centralize a specific individual, so meaning that it is an ANC problem. And two also is, does it not speak to what has been raised even before during the tenure of former President Jacob Zuma, that the removal of Jacob Zuma, the individual, will not really sort out the corruption that has been entrenched in the party?
Well, it could be very correct to say that indeed the ANC has actually failed to deal with corruption and corrupt tendencies within its ranks. I've made a reference to the Zondo Commission. Most people that are mentioned in that report are members of the ANC. And what we have seen is that even though they'll talk about the programs that are there within government, my expectation, and I think the expectation of many people in South Africa would have been that the ANC within its own ranks should have actually started acting on those individuals. And unfortunately, that does not appear to be the case. And those are the issues that most people will always be raising to say, what have you done about your own members that have been mentioned in the commission? Of course, there are those who have tried to take reports for reviews and who actually argue that certain things could not have been done properly. But the ANC, in my view, from within, should have actually already developed mechanisms to be able to deal with those individuals. At the same time, you need the Veterans League to be the ones that are able to provide direction on matters of ethical governance and accountability. And they could be frustrated by the mother body, or they could not be having the best strategies to be able to intervene on matters of corruption. And that could be the reason why people like Msimang got demoralized and wanted to get out of the party.
Yeah, and of course that resignation following what Fikile Mbalula had said yesterday about ANC veterans that are decampaigning the party and speaking out against that. I see a statement that has now been released by the ANC Veterans League where they say, of course noting the resignation of Mavuso Msimang, but they go on to say that it is equally regrettable that the Secretary-General of the ANC has made allegations against the Veterans League that we are undermining the ANC. But they still go on to argue, and it's a point that's also that Mavuso Msimang makes in his resignation letter as well, that there has been a resolution that has been adopted by the Veterans League, and that is that members and people that have been implicated in the State Capture Commission of Inquiry's report should not be included on the national list for the elections next year.
That becomes, in my view, a big challenge for the ANC, which also becomes a crunch time for the ANC itself. There could still be a balance between the leadership of the ANC and how it relates to its own leagues. Specifically, if you look at the Veterans League, these are mostly people that have been in the party for quite some time, and they would get seriously worried and frustrated if they see wrong things happening within the party and there is slow pace in dealing with such. And that is why they'll come with this kind of arguments. But there are mechanisms, in my view, within the ANC and of course with other political parties on how members of the organization have to relate with one another. And what we've observed is that even though it is not the majority of the veterans, there are many instances where instead of seeing veterans talking good about the party, there is a lot of criticism and in the public space coming from the Veterans League. And I think that is one area that the ANC has to develop strategies to iron such out.
Finally, what do you think the impact of this resignation will have on the image of brand ANC, considering that we are heading into the elections in 2024?
It has an impact because the ANC has to develop strategies to be able to answer why people like Msimangs have actually left the party. And they will always be answering the same question that they've been trying to answer for more than 20 years about the strategies and the seriousness to fight against corruption. And if people are saying, I'm leaving the party because there is corruption, it therefore means that the ANC might not be doing very well or as expected in the fight against corruption within its own ranks.
Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Levy Ndou, following that resignation of ANC Veterans League Deputy President Mavuso Msimang. He not only resigns as the Deputy President of the Veterans League, but also resigns as a member of the ANC.